Hey, it's Courier Girl, and today I want to talk about being a medical courier. So I get lots of questions about this because it seems that a lot of people want to get into the medical courier business and they're not sure how to do it. So let me give you a couple tips on how to get a medical courier job first, and then I'm going to talk about what a medical courier does because I feel like a lot of people don't really understand what that job entails. So, first of all, how to get a medical courier job. What I would do, if you don't know who has the contract with your local hospitals, then I would try to find out. And the way that you can do that is you can ask the hospital. You can hang out at the hospital and see who shows up as far as couriers, and then just ask the driver who they work for if, their vehicle's not marked, which a lot of them aren't, and they might be wearing like a courier company t-shirt or something. Now, how do you know they're a courier? Usually they're carrying coolers with them because they usually transport specimens in coolers. Even if don't have ice in them, the coolers are to help keep them contained in case of a spill. So look for people parking kind of close to the entrance, running in and out real quick with a cooler, and that's probably a courier. And then talk to them for a couple minutes. Most people are pretty cool about saying who they work for. You could also try to call the hospital. I'm not sure if you could get to the right department or not. That might be kind of difficult, but you can try that. You can ask at your doctor's office who picks up their lab stuff or the lab that you go to. Labs like Quest and LabCorp have their own drivers usually, and those are W-2 jobs usually. Actually, always, although they sometimes do contract with other courier companies if they don't have enough drivers to fill the work. So you could ask them. I would call your local office. Don't just ask at a lab because they're not going to know. And see if they use contract companies. You can look at the job search videos that I've done in your city. I've done like 40 cities now where I spend like an hour just searching for courier companies and jobs. So look at the playlist, How to Get in a Courier Business, and see if your city's listed, and if it's not, then request it in the comments and I will get to it as soon as I can. I'm a little behind right now, but I get a lot of requests. All right, so that is another way to get leads on medical courier companies. Okay, you could also do a Google search, medical courier company in, and then put your city, and that should pop up somebody. Now, most courier companies are hiring because there tends to be a high turnover rate. Some people just don't like the work. Some people don't like the pay. Some people move. Some people mess up and get fired. So there's a lot of reasons that people don't stay with the courier company that they're with. On the other hand, there are some people that do it. I know a guy who's been doing the same route for like 20 years. So there's those types of people too, the longevity people who just really make a career out of it. And not only keep the same company, but the exact same job. So I actually was talking to a guy today. It's not medical courier work, but he's been doing the same job for like 35 years. So yeah, there's people out there. Okay, so what is it like to be a medical courier? A lot of people seem to think that a medical courier picks up specimens and takes them to a lab. So you go to a doctor's office or a small emergency room or an urgent care. You pick up specimens in sealed bags and you take them to a lab. It's really easy. All you're doing is driving back and forth. There's like no lifting to it, no wait, not a lot of time, not a lot of effort. It's great. And that is part of what a medical courier does. I've done that myself, but it's not even most of it in my experience. So if you are on a strict lab route or you're just doing on demand for labs, then that's what you're probably going to do. You may come back, if you're doing a route, you may come back at the end of the day with 2 or 3 coolers worth of specimens that you have to take to the lab. You may do blood work where you're taking blood specimens, and that can be 4 or 5 big coolers full of blood specimens to like a Hawksworth or, your blood center. So those are things that you might be transporting as far as lab things, but there's a whole lot more to the medical courier business than just labs. There is, oh, what do you call it? I can't remember right now. Pathology, where you're taking slides of cells, and that can be, again, big coolers worth, or it can just be like an envelope with some stuff in it. So you could be toting 3 or 4 or 5 coolers down long hallways and up and down elevators and around the corner to get to the pathology. And the same with labs. Not every lab is right next to the door. Sometimes you have to make quite a trek to get there. And if you have a lot of stuff, you have a cart or a dolly and all of that. Okay. You also have mail and supply routes. I did one of those a long time ago, and we would pick up mail from like the main mailroom of the hospital, which was at their corporate office, distribute it to different doctor's offices. There were multiple routes. I think mine had about 70 stops on it. And you would pick up the mail that was returning, and then that would go back to the central processing for, you know, to be sent out. And the other thing that I would do was supplies. Now, when I was doing supplies, it was at the height of COVID. So a lot of the doctor offices were like telehealth only, patients can't come in. So they weren't using a ton of supplies, but I still, I don't know, I would, by the end of the route, when it was loosening up a little bit, I was filling most of this van, if not every day, then every couple days, with boxes of stuff going to different places. There were totes, plastic totes, there were cardboard boxes. Sometimes I had to take like copy paper. And my little dolly is, it's a great little dolly, but it's not made to tote 3 or 4 cases, big cases of copy paper. That stuff's heavy. And of course, it's never easy to get in and out of these doors. Even if they open, you got to go over the bump and all that stuff. I don't know, I'm just complaining now. So there was that. There were places that I would have to deliver big, huge boxes of like breathing tube stuff for like sleep centers. There was sometimes cases of water, cases of juice, snacks, stuff like that, also for that they had available in offices for whatever reason. So there was that. Now I don't do that route anymore, but my friend does that route, and because it's back to business as usual, he has a full-size van, and that van gets filled every single day. He's carried office furniture, like not desks and stuff, but like office chairs, which can be kind of heavy, cabinets, stuff like that. And he's always carrying equipment. Oh, once I had to carry a whole new computer system to a place, and it was really heavy, and it was so big. It was before I had the van. I couldn't get it into my car. So I had to have somebody help me with it, because one of the boxes was just that big. And not only big, but like 80 pounds. And so trying to get that in was not easy. But I did it. All right. So my point is that as a medical courier, you could be carrying big boxes, heavy loads. You could be carrying lots of different supplies to different places. I've also picked up cases of like surgical gloves, which are, you know, 30 pounds each, and taken them to other hospitals. Like Hospital A runs out and they're like, hey, can I get some from you? So we're taking them back and forth. You pick those up off the dock. I've taken surgical instruments, dirty, go to the dirty processing, and then the clean go back to the place they came from. Picked up dirty linens. I've had the back of this van full of bags of dirty linens that go to the dock, to the main hospital laundry. Then you take the clean linens and you take them back out to wherever you picked up the dirty linens. So there's that. There's pharmacy stuff. There's there's equipment and machinery. Now, I don't do this, but the company that I do a lot of work for has box trucks, and they are doing equipment, like really super expensive medical equipment that has to go from one hospital to another, or that has to go from one hospital out to, like, they call them the MOBs, something, office buildings, you know, where the doctor's office is. It's a building in the same parking lot with a hospital, but it's not attached to the hospital. So they would have to take these box trucks and very carefully strap the equipment in. It's several hundred pounds. It's on wheels, but still heavy. And take them back and forth to different locations. They also have to do big metal carts, I'd say 6 feet tall by maybe 5 feet wide by maybe 2 to 3 feet deep, full of surgical instruments, which, I mean, it's kind of like, it sounds like you're pushing around a big tool chest. So it's surgical instruments or other type of things that they need at other places. So we have, the company that I do the most work for has box truck runs several times a day that just do that. And you might have to drop it off, and you might have to sit there and wait for a couple hours till they're done with it and then take it back. So it's a lot of waiting and downtime, and you only get paid so much for that run. So, and you can't go do anything else in the meantime. So there's that. Another thing that I've done is taken things between cities. Like I took some specialized surgical instruments to a city about 4 hours away because they needed it. It was a small hospital that just didn't have that kind of equipment, so they were borrowing it from another hospital. So I took that out there. That was like 4 hours one way and 4 hours back. I took some new COVID tests. This was at the beginning of COVID when they were just starting to test, and I had to take, I don't know, I had like 20 cases. This whole van was full of unused COVID tests that I took to another hospital in Toledo, which by the time I got there and back, it was about a 4-hour one-way trip. So 8 hours for that one run. So you can do things like that. Let's see what else. Outreach. Okay, outreach is taking things to people's homes. So, for instance, let's say a patient gets out of the hospital and they have a PICC line and they need some kind of antibiotic. So I have done work for a company that would deliver antibiotics like that to people's homes, or feeding tube supplies, or other things that are pharmacy items that you can't get from like your local pharmacy or drugstore. So those are specialized things. And some people get them a couple days a week because some of the supplies are only good for a few days. So some people will get 2 or 3 deliveries a week, and some of those boxes can be 30 or 40 pounds. I just delivered yesterday a box that was probably at least 35 pounds, and I had to go up 2 flights of stairs with it. And it's probably nothing for a lot of people, but I'm not in the best shape. I'm not in as good of shape as I want to be. So that really put a strain on me to have to walk up 2 flights of stairs with a heavy box. Doing it with a really lightweight box is nothing, but that was a little dicey there. All right, so what else? There are companies that will go to people's homes and pick up specimens. Like if you have a baby who they need stool specimens, they will go to a home and pick up the dirty diaper from the family and then take it to the lab. So there's stuff like that going on as well. And the other thing about home delivery is that you can get sent anywhere. So it may not always be the best part of town. I mean, there have been a couple places that I've gone that I was a little bit uneasy about going to those parts of town. And I was definitely on my guard, especially if it's dark. And you know, in November, December, it's getting dark a lot earlier. So I was out doing deliveries till like 8 or 9, and it was getting dark at 6. And there were times that I was not happy about that. But it's part of the job. You know, you can't just say, oh, I'm not going to do that one. Because if you say that too often, they're not going to use you anymore. So those are some of the different things that medical deliveries can involve. It's not just a couple specimens taken to a lab. It's so much more than that. So what else can I tell you about it? How does it pay? A lot of people think that being a medical courier pays a lot more, and it can. I mean, I've gotten paid. I have one job that I did recently. I got like $40 an hour. But I've also got jobs that came out to only like $12 an hour, because they were doing it by distance, and like the distance between two particular locations was only 2 miles, but because of traffic, it took you like 10 to 15 minutes to get there. Then you had to go inside. Often you had to wait. Then you had to take it back to the other place and drop it off at the lab. So it could take you, and that run it paid like, when I started doing it, it paid like $8. Nobody wanted to do it because it paid like $8 and it took almost an hour, 45 minutes to an hour to get done. And it's just, you're paying for your gas, you're paying for your vehicle. It's not worth it. So I think they raised it to like $12, but still, it's not very much money. If you are doing a whole bunch of other runs where you're getting paid a lot more for your time and effort, then an occasional, low-end run like that is cool. But if that's the kind of runs you're getting all the time, then it's not cool, and it's not something that you can sustain long-term. So the medical courier business can pay pretty well, but it can also pay pretty crappy. And the other thing is with on-demand work, depending on how their scheduling is, how many people they have on demand, how busy they are that day, you could be hopping and be really busy all day long, or you could be sitting there twiddling your thumbs. I think the last time I did on demand, I didn't get a single call, and you don't get paid. It's not like you get a guarantee for sitting there and waiting half your day, because you can't really do much. If you're on call, you have to be available. And you don't get a guarantee for that. At least this company didn't. Now, some people might give you a minimum guarantee for being available for on-demand. Some companies do that. And a lot of companies will do that if you're on demand overnight. They'll tell you that you're on demand overnight and we're going to give you a guarantee of $50 or $75 whether you get any calls or not. So there's that. All right, so I think I covered everything. Do you still want to be a medical courier? So yeah, I enjoy doing it. I also enjoy the other types of courier work that I do. So to me, they're all kind of one and the same. I wouldn't choose one over the other. I would choose a job that I enjoy doing with pay that I am happy with and with people that I like working with. That's kind of how I do it. So that's it for now. I've actually got more non-medical pickups to do here just in a minute. So thanks for watching, and I will see you on the road.